Okay, we're live. I hope. Not seeing a picture of me yet. It says an excellent connection. Have stopped stream. There I am. I finally showed up. All right, I can see me. I finally showed up. Yay.
Guess I won't be typing.
No, I guess you won't. Ruth says hi all. Hi, Ruth. The internet went down just before we did this, so here's hoping it stays up. We don't know why. It just sort of did. Beth says hi, everyone. Hi, Beth. Welcome. However much time we have, I guess, is how much time we have. Ian's right arm's not is unhappy at the moment, especially his elbow, but he's wearing a sling, but he's typing a little bit. Ian says, hello, all injured arm. Won't be doing much typing. Elphemia says, hello, hi, or Ephemia. Violet says, hi, Siofra and Ian, long time. Hi, Violet, welcome. So, we're alive and well. Well, most of us.
Or
most
well.
Most of our bodies are well.
Except my right arm.
Except his right arm. We were gardening today. That says our internet is not so good today either. Ian, heal fast. Yeah. We see the doctor on Tuesday, so hopefully we can get a referral so someone can have a look at this a little bit more closely because it's been bothering off and on for a long time. But yeah, you just never know with that internet. But hey, as long as we're here, Astra says hi. Hi, Astra. We're having wonderful weather for the last few days.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we've actually been able to do some weeding and pruning and stuff in our garden a little bit every day. I did some this morning before the winds came. And actually today, apparently this afternoon, it's not as windy as it's been for the last while. So, and today's my granddaughter's birthday. We're going to go and celebrate after the show. Have some cake. Always good to have cake. Cake is good. Celebrating is good. So what do y'all want to talk about today? I'm ready. Throw them at me. Yeah.
Things.
Jono says hi, guys. Hi, Jono.
Hi,
Sundrop says hey. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
We're all at it. We got the usuals, and Violet says, I wish I had more questions, but I'm a silent listener and moving and cooking all at the same time. That's okay.
That's okay.
We have plenty of people that just listen in and don't necessarily participate. But I'm always asking people to,
Yes.
ask questions because that's my job.
Because if you don't, then we'll make something up, and then you're really in trouble.
Who knows what we might make up.
Off the top of our head, yes, right.
Ian and I have our anniversary coming up this week on Thursday. It'll be 32
Yes.
years since we got married.
It's an awesome
Yep. So that's cool. That'll be fun. So it's like a week of celebrating with granddaughter's birthday and then our anniversary. So, and our garden is looking pretty good. I had to really prune back my rosemary. It got so big. I mean, it's got a trunk on it that's like this big around at the bottom right now. Actually, maybe even bigger. I think it's more like that. And it's quite Yeah, quite expansive. Violet says, that's very cool. Congrats. Thank you. Beth says, we did a little. Dave fell and hurt his ankle. Oh, I'm sorry. My son and I've been helping him. My son takes him to the bathroom. I feed him. That's a lot of work. I'm good. He's glad he has a support system to assist. Ankles are no fun. Rory says, hello all. Hi, Rory. Welcome to our live show. Ask any questions you have on your mind. So yeah, I like the weeding and pulling and yanking. I discovered that this jasmine I planted a number of years ago, it's very slow growing, but it's not dead. I found it again today, so I was pretty excited. Donna says, Violet, is that you? I was speaking with Luna about you this week. Cool. Beth says his son is an orthopedic surgeon and he's coming tomorrow for x-rays. Awesome. Rory says, how can I decrease anxiety? Yeah, well, that's a huge question because I
Also,
have
a lot of people have.
yes, I live with two people who often have anxiety, so it's a good thing I don't usually. But you know, there's meditation and breathing techniques. There's therapy. There's medication in some cases that you know becomes necessary. As far as the magical exercises and things like that go, working with that inner voice and trying to uh, find tactics for dealing with the specifics of an anxiety kind of thing. You know, if you can have people to talk to and sort of do reality checks and you trust that they're telling you the truth, that can sometimes help. Ian might have a few suggestions since he suffers from it
Well,
sometimes and what you
yeah,
can do.
it depends. Don't let any self-talk make it worse. So make sure your self-talk, your inner voice, is on something that's not anxiety making. Try to focus on something else. For myself, I find that um, it's a hard deal when I'm having anxiety. It makes it really hard to meditate. Usually, if I'm not trying to meditate, I'll try and distract myself by keeping busy. Working with my hands helps a lot. Something distracting like that, and something, don't let your self talk make it worse, especially if there's like things that are stressing you out or something. You don't want to be thinking about them while you're having the anxiety and stuff. Third, put yourself in there some meditation time, quiet. That when you're not having anxiety, and hopefully it'll hold over and help when you're having anxiety some.
Having a good support system is definitely
Yeah,
useful. If you don't have that, going out in nature can help.
yeah. I have flat out just bad panic attacks sometimes. So
We have some
deal with that.
medication for
Yeah.
that when they get really bad. Physical symptoms of that are pretty intense and can, yeah, be very uncomfortable. Beth says, wishing everyone to heal and feel better. Happy birthday to your jelly bean. Thank you. And happy anniversary. Thank you. Violet says, hi, Jono. Yes, long time. I dropped off for a bit. I do a new school every Sunday. Jono says, Rory, good question. It's tough. I'm all stressed out right now. I found a cool strategy. I pictured two copies of myself having a conversation, and I just listened to them talk.
Oh, interesting
Interesting
approach. Yeah.
idea. Julia says, waves a belated hello and smile to everyone. Hi, Julia. Welcome. Yeah, so I mean, we all have these kinds of struggles at different times in our lives. I don't know that anyone has ever managed to
Yeah.
go through a life without some kind of anxiety at one point or another. The problem becomes when it is like overwhelming, all consuming, and over something that you either can't do anything about or something that has nothing to do with you. And that's just like become a huge thing in your mind. And it isn't really an issue except in your own mind. So that can be like
Yeah, as far as a random generic thing to focus on that I've been trying to focus on that sometimes helps, I've tried all kinds of different methods for anxiety and stuff, but lately it's been harmony, focusing on the idea of everything being in harmony and everything in balance. That actually seems to be helps with anxiety to a certain extent. I'll try and do the breathing exercise, breathe in harmony and let it fill me, and breathe out disharmony, breathe in more harmony and breathe out disharmony. And I found that like trying to do that directly with the panic, doesn't work so well for me. But focusing on harmony, becoming harmonized, breathing in harmonizing energy, and then breathing out all disharmony, that seems to work pretty good for my anxiety. Maybe because I'm not focused directly on the anxiety when I do that, I'm not sure. Sometimes it seems like if I remember an anxiety attack, it'll make it you have a bigger tendency to try to have one. So if I can get my mind off the anxiety idea, it helps not having anxiety.
Yeah, so you're sort
Yeah.
of when you focus on a previous one, it's like you're opening up to the energy of it, maybe, and it's increasing the likelihood.
Well, I don't know, but the harmonies seem to work well for me. I'm still working with mine and finding better ways to deal with it.
And Astra says, I tire myself out with swimming. I have PTSD. Overthinking makes it worse. Self-havening helps. Donna says, Violet, sorry for being weird. I missed you way more than what makes sense. Beth says, bless your heart, Ian. I manage panic attacks by your techniques. I have found that sensitive as we get older just pick up everything and we are more prone to panic attacks. Jono says, or Violet says, Jono hearts. And
Yeah,
Beth says,
I had meds for the panic attacks, which actually worked okay and kept them down to a real minimum for me. I still had some of those minimal, but now I can't take the meds because I started reacting badly to them. So now I'm off the meds, so that makes it tougher. But actually doing pretty good being totally off the meds.
it's
Just
an
managing
adjustment.
managing it with um, other herbal products like that.
Beth says, doing laundry helps me, then I can meditate. Whatever works. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you know, when I had a real world situation that was causing me extreme anxiety when we almost like became homeless and lost our house, and I started focusing my energy on doing some of my beading work. That was actually when I started doing some larger beaded pieces because I needed something I could control and something that was creative and that would like sort of consume my attention and help me not focus on the thing that, you know, was looming so I could think straight and figure a way out, which
That was
I
very
did.
productive, though. You made some great art.
Yes, I did. So sometimes throwing yourself into a creative endeavor of some kind, finding something that is inspiring to you can certainly help distract the brain from feeding into and becoming absorbed by an anxiety. Violet says, thank you for sharing your panic attacks. It helps me too. Eve says, hey, lovely people. Hi, Eve. Astor says, I take prozazine and magnesium. Prozazine prevents my nervous system from getting amped up. Whatever works, if it works for you, that's awesome. Esteban says, hi, greetings from Costa Rica. Welcome, Esteban. Thank you for participating. Jana says, you've been amazing, Ian. When I joined this channel, you didn't want to talk at all. You've come really far pretty fast.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
this is true.
It's an effort.
He's now actually talking and staying in the room for the entire show. So this is awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely an improvement.
Right.
Then, yeah,
I mean, in the
sure.
beginning,
Yeah.
sometimes he was here for like 10 or 15 minutes and then he had to leave because it was too much pressure or too stressful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have certainly seen him blossom and so forth. Glitter World says, good evening. Hi, Glitter World. Eve says, yay, Ian has so much to offer in the conversation, too. I love that. Glitter says, glitter. Yes, you do. You glitter.
Glitter makes almost everything better.
Yeah. Hi, my dear. So, Esteban, since you're new, I think, to our channel, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. That's sort of how the live shows work. Sundrop says, I find cooking does the job for me. I cooked chicken rice and broccoli for my family today. They loved it. Fabulous. Astor says, I have light beings coming out of my walls sometimes, so I'm a little hyper vigilant from seeing creatures. A lot to adjust to. Beth says, I enjoy Ian speaking.
Oh, thank you. I'm getting embarrassed now.
Uh-oh. Okay, stop
Change
it.
to a different subject.
Stop.
Thank you, but
Stop
yeah.
praising. Apparently, it's becoming a pressure. But really, we appreciate it,
Yes.
and I'm sure he appreciates it too.
Yes, I do.
But let's get us distracted by talking about magic on some level or other, and what kinds of things we want to chat about today. Eve says, laugh out loud, changing the subject. Beth says, welcome, Esteban. I got a drink in my throat. I still have some stuff coming up out of my lung. I'm amazed at how much stuff was in there. But mostly better. Glitter says, magic is everywhere. Yes, it is. Every breath. Violet says, since I was away, you have a new backdrop. Did you change rooms? It's lovely, though. No, we're still in the temple, but we had to pack our temple up because we have some renovations to do, and we also had a roof put on this building, and I was worried, apparently unnecessarily, that they might come through the ceiling when they were putting on the roof, but they didn't, so that was good. But it seemed like a good idea to take this opportunity to clean walls and paint and so forth. So we have that to do.
Basically, we just got the screen behind there, and we haven't put everything back together yet.
Right, because I want to wash the walls and so forth. So we're in kind of like, spring cleaning, summer maintenance, fixing up like yard work, etc. This year, and trying to get our environment under control, I guess. Julia says, oh dear, hides the Burger King crown behind my ample behind, looks in the opposite direction. Nothing to see here, grin. Violet says, oh, thank you for that lovely response. You're welcome. Yeah, so, yeah, it's, okay. It's always interesting because, life happens around you. Entropy, of course, is the thing that makes everything fall apart. No matter what you do, if you don't continually renew things, you end up with something that has to be fixed. So,
Entropy.
Entropy. Entropy is a bitch. I have a friend who was complaining about things breaking down. She had an entire list, and that was my response. Entropy is a bitch. She thought that was funny. Astor says, I just heard the word entropy. Yes. It's a lovely word. It's not a fun thing, though. Jano says, I wanted to praise Ian more, but fine, let's talk magic. Can we engage with Southern Conjure if we don't completely commit and do the animal sacrifices and stuff? I don't know if that qualifies. But it is a change of subject. Well, I don't do animal sacrifices, so yeah. That's kind of outside of my bailiwick. So I wouldn't be able to commit. Astor says, you guys are psychic.
I always sacrifice a turnip.
Yeah. Glitter says, I don't know what it means. Entropy is basically the slow breaking down of anything in existence. It just,
Only time makes things break down,
Yep.
Deteriorate.
It deteriorates through time. It's like, you get weird things, okay? So we had a car that the horn started blowing at odd hours, like in the middle of the night. And Ian was having a heck of a time trying to figure out what was wrong with the horn. And entropy was the cause of the problem because the problem was the deterioration of a rubber seal.
No, they Actually, inside they'd used a piece of styrofoam to separate two pieces of metal, and the styrofoam broke down, so the two pieces of metal would short together and short the horn out.
When it got cold.
But only when it was cold outside, so the horn would only start honking when it hit cold enough. It hit like almost to freezing, and then it'd start honking. So you had to wait till 2 or 3 in the morning, then the horn would go off and wouldn't stop.
Yeah, so that would be a good example of entropy, I think.
Yep.
A practical example.
Yep. Had to take the whole steering column apart and everything just to put a little piece of styrofoam back in to fix the problem.
So Asher says, I was just thinking how sensitive people are sensitive to entropy. That's why they get anxious. Well, that could be. Violet says, oh my God, I learned a new word today. Entropy. Neat. I always love learning new words. I learned a new word yesterday, and that was a meteorological term, Checo, and it's about the straight line winds that are like taking apart first the town of Houston, Texas, and today it's going into another state and gonna go nuts. Julia says there's no actual condition to practice Southern conjure or hoodoo.
Yes, we're not biased against it either, though, except for the animal sacrifices, which we don't want to do. And
personally,
and practically speaking, we're not really biased against that either. But properly,
well, right, it's just a personal choice.
In the realms of the and such. Yeah, I didn't want anybody to think that because we don't at ourselves that we necessarily have a negative take on it. So,
but we're here to talk about what we know.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to think because we got, we'll use, you've got that 5,000 spells book, and some of those are hoodoo spells.
There's a lot of hoodoo in that.
Some of those, and yeah, so we're not.
So Lisa says, hello, I hope this doesn't sound bad because I don't wish this on anyone, but I really feel better knowing I'm not alone in anxiety attacks all the same. Blessings to you all. I'm new on here. Well, yeah. Welcome to the channel, and yes, it's good to know.
In addition to me, we have several watchers, several viewers who have panic issues.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gaga says, do you know about blood magic?
I know enough to know that we don't particularly want to do it, and I don't think we particularly want to talk about it either, although there's a lot of energy. If you have a specific question or something, try and answer it, but not generally a subject I think delve into.
Glitter says, thank you for anyone. Julia says, no actual condition to practice sacrifice, I mean.
Yeah.
Beth says, okay, I'm going to bring it up. Duke called King Charles. His energy is not of a king, but when I saw his portrait, I saw a black mass and democratic presence in the red painting. Any thoughts? Well, I didn't care for the painting personally because it was just so monotone with all the red stuff in it, but I don't care about King Charles or whatever he's doing, not being in England, and he's not part of our issues here. So I don't know. He does have cancer. Maybe that would be why he saw a black mass.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. I saw it somewhere. I went past it.
Yeah.
Somewhere recently.
Yeah, they've been showing it on the news, and we've seen it a couple of times, and I'm like, this would not be a painting that I would want to have done of myself.
Yeah, I didn't find it appealing in the least.
But it's his portrait, so it's nothing to do with us.
I have an artistic sense that doesn't fit my artistic taste.
Or mine either. Yeah. Violet says, "Oh my God, I'm laughing. It's not funny about the 2 a.m. horn, but still funny."
It was funny. It was annoying, but it was still funny. It was even funny when it was happening.
Especially with the waking up in the middle of the night with the, oh no, it's doing it again. Why? What is happening? And Julia says, I will form a whole coherent thought sometimes this day, I swear. Gaga says, does karma come with sacrifices? Karma comes with everything you do, good and bad. Karma is kind of like the results of what you perform, whether it's a sacrifice or whether it's helping a lady across the street. I mean... Yeah,
karma, in my opinion, is like... a set of forces, or you might imagine a set of levers connected together, or a machine where um, you do something at one end and something happens at the other end, or um, what you do, how karma works, is you do something, and that sets into motion various energies, forces, and things on the other planes, which then all have to shift around, and everything has to shift around until it reaches an equilibrium again, and that comes back to you as your karma. So what it really is are forces you set in motion, and then they go out there, and if you imagine a bunch of pool balls hitting each other and bouncing off each other and bouncing off the rails of the pool table, and then some of them might come back and hit your cue ball or whatever, or that type of thing. So it's a bunch of stuff you set in motion, just like breaking a rack on a pool table. You set all these things in motion, and then all these forces bounce around till they come to an equilibrium and stop. And a lot of them re-impact on your life, and that's your karma. And that's more or less how I picture it. So don't get anything that you didn't set in motion, in a sense, except have other players on the board, and they can set things into a motion, like just like the pool balls that will collide into you, become part of your karma, that type of thing. So maybe if you look at it like that, there's no karma isn't a matter of anybody doing any judgments or anything. It's just forces bouncing around and then coming back to life the way they happen to come back according to the laws of all those things.
Yeah, I was thinking another good image for that would be throwing a stone in a pond.
Well, yeah,
And
that's a perfect, yeah.
you throwing the stone in the pond starts the ripples going out. But then those ripples hit things in the pond,
And
which
they can
makes other
bounce
ripples
back,
come
yeah.
back,
That's another
you
good
know,
example, yeah.
and that's pretty much what it
Yeah, it's
is.
it's look at it like a mechanical process. There are no judgments. If you do something bad to somebody, you will get that karma back in some fashion, but it won't necessarily be the same fashion you sent it out. But it'll be some sort of reaction, energies, forces balancing out to bring it back into your life in a way that's may not be pleasant, but it may not necessarily be as recognizable as your karma directly if you're not paying attention,
Yeah.
because it can come from different directions, different types of things.
And really, with that definition of karma, if you're alive and you're having an impact on the world, there's no
Well,
way to
yes,
avoid it.
everything you do
Everything
generates
you
some kind
do
of karma. Yep.
generates some kind of reaction from the
Even
universe that then sets a series of things in motion that then can come back.
let's take that one step farther and include thoughts and emotions. You set something loose on the emotional plane. You set something loose on the mental plane. Your thoughts, same type of thing. Energies moving around and coming back at you. Karma.
So Beth says, "Welcome, Lisa." And oh my goodness, I meant demons and so-called kings. You're thinking that they were doing like a black mass, a satanic mass. I didn't see anything like that myself. And I don't think that the governments in the world are doing any kind of black magic or anything like that to stay in power. So I don't see it. But the color red certainly lends itself to the notion of that kind of thing because we associate the color red with evil as well as the color black for some reason, even though it's just a color. Astra says, I have a fairy that wakes me up in the morning. Sometimes she makes squeaky noises and sounds really cute.
No,
They
that's
have their
cool.
own language, so I don't know what they're saying. She also visits my neighbor.
Cool.
Beth says, that's what I was thinking. Karma comes with everything. Astra says, I love their fairy-nality.
Okay, I like that term.
Fairy-nality. Sundrop says, I experience karma, bad karma. Well, hopefully you also experience good karma. Astra says, I was a little jealous that they have other humans, but I can share my fairy friends, I suppose. I don't know that you have a choice in the matter, so it's good to be magnanimous. Then they don't get upset with you. Cuckoo says, hello everyone. I have a serious magical problem. Maybe you would like to share your opinion on how to solve it. Well, ask your questions and we'll see what we come up
We'll
with.
give it a shot if we can answer it. Yep, feel free to chime in.
It is an open forum. We don't answer all questions, and we only can give you our experience and opinion. It's up to you to decide what to do with it. Working hard not to be a cult leader. Cuckoo says, my godmother, my father's sister, deals with magic, and it turned out that she practices black magic against us out of jealousy and envy, curses, and sends evil spirits to us, destroying our lives. Okay, so terrible thing. Sorry that that's happening to you, but you don't have to allow it to continue, and you don't have to let it happen to you. Nobody has the power to do that to you unless you accept the energy that they're sending to you in the first place. So, learn your own form of magic and use magical defenses and put them up. I have a bunch of videos on that subject, psychic self defense. There's like a whole series of videos on psychic self defense and so forth. And, you can do something about it, but you have to be proactive. Because if you're passive and you say that this is happening and you believe this is happening and you accept that they have the power to do this to you, then they will succeed. And your only true defense is to become powerful in and of yourself. You don't need to attack them in order to do it, although that is sometimes an option for people. But you can send the energy back to them, a basic return to sender kind of spell, mirror work, and stuff like that we talk about fairly often. But your own free will and your own power is going to be your best defense. So work on that. Work on yourself and work on understanding, comprehending,
Yeah, I agree.
in enhancing your own natural abilities and your strength, your meditational practices, whatever kind of magic style you're doing. That's the only true answer that I can think of.
Yeah, figure out how you want to go with that for magical style and stuff, and yeah, that's the best. Make sure you do right.
And understand too that what we choose to focus on puts energy into it. So if negative things are happening and those are the things you put energy into focusing on, you're creating kind of like a sort of like a, I don't know, an attraction hole, as it were, energetic hole, sucking the energy in, giving it room, giving it space. If you fill that space up with something different, like positive self affirmations, you know, working on yourself, becoming an individual, self determination, self definition, and so forth, then there's no hole or sucking into yourself kind of thing. So, not giving it any attention as much as possible. So, if what you're seeing and focusing on is the negative things that might happen in your life, and then adding those together and saying, oh, wow, look how terrible my life is, and look what they're doing to me, then you're making it bigger. So
Yeah,
try refocusing on the positive stuff. Look for the things that give you joy and hope and so forth. The things that engage you in life in a positive way, and focus on that. And then the room for the other stuff will start to dissipate. There won't be as much space in you for that to happen. It's I don't know how else to explain that.
well, yeah, no, that's pretty good. You know, there are. You should look up some defensive spells and stuff. There are all kinds. Find something that suits whatever approach feels most natural to you, whether it's like a shamanic approach, a witchcraft approach, hermetic magic, whatever method seems to appeal to you the most. Has some really good protection stuff in that. Um, and there's no good answer to a question like that right off the bat. You're going to have to work with things and work with it and figure it out kind of as you go and figure out what to do and whether you need certain specific things. Um, yeah, it's tough. I don't recommend doing any dark magic or anything like that. I notice down below Sundrop has a message we haven't got to yet, but yeah, I don't do dark magic even in circumstances where other people might consider it justified.
Yeah. Esteban says, oh, Beth says I was using word perfect and it doesn't like
Yes.
me. Esteban says, will we pay all karma during this lifetime, or is it possible to have karma from past lives? It's possible to have karma from past lives, but you don't have to bring it with
Well,
you.
yeah, my feeling is that most karma relating to this lifetime will be gone when this lifetime is over. You get rid of almost all of it unless it's something
Big.
big. Usually, if it's something big, it can pass through, but usually all the minor stuff, spats with your neighbor and that kind of stuff, just going to be gone. You know, that stuff you won't worry about next life.
Astor says, my neighbor came up with the term pherogonality, like personality. I thought it was a cute way to describe them. My neighbor
Yep.
is very sweet and funny, and she's very supportive, and I feel less alone. It's always good. Gaga says, what if the spirit is really old and powerful? Can it still have an effect on you? Only if you let it. You are a human being and you have all five elements in you. And you have the ability to withstand any forces that are out there, period. But you have to claim it. Sundrop says, I'm afraid to do dark magic even if it would help, but I'm not expected either, so I must be careful. I'm for doing the good. And that's what you were responding
Yeah,
to.
right. She says experience down below.
Experience.
I'm not experienced.
I'm not experienced
But yes,
either.
so don't do it. Don't do the dark magic anyway. I'm all for doing defensive magic. I do not do anything that could be considered as an attack on another person or anything like that. My defense is all things like either bouncing it. I have no problem with bouncing somebody's energy back to them,
Because it's theirs to take
or
care of.
turning myself invisible to the energy so that it just doesn't find a target, which is an interesting way to do it that I haven't seen much about in the Western uh, stuff. But use a little kaja, turn yourself invisible to the nasty energy coming at you. If it can't find any place to go, it goes back to its originator.
Right. If you can't find a house, it
Yep.
goes home.
Yep.
Julia says, I say stop fertilizing the miasma. Yep, absolutely. Yep. Sundrop says, I'm still a baby learning. Do you believe in baby witches who are new? I believe in people, and people are always capable of learning, and everyone starts somewhere, so yes. Glitter says, daily affirmations like they hold no power here and believe in your strength. Yes, those are good.
Those are good things. The affirmations.
Beth says, Sundrop, you're more advanced than you think, hun. Gaga says, what if 100 people are focusing on your downfall? Can one person counter it all, or will he be overwhelmed? One person can counter it all because you have to have an opening for anyone's energy to enter. And so it's up to you.
It depends on that one person. It also depends on the 100 people, but you know, if you're talking 100 Santeros, that's one thing. If you're talking 100 laymen, that's entirely another thing. And anybody with even a modicum of magical training and experience in building up of their aura won't have a problem with those types of things that aren't being specifically magically aimed at them.
Well, and the other thing is that if your relationship with the universe is strong, you've got the whole universe at your back. If there is no reason for you to be attacked, if there's not anything you've done that you feel guilty about and you think that you should be punished for, there's nothing anyone else could do. Except physically, if they, caught you and took you and kidnapped you and whatnot.
I don't think I'm quite comfortable with saying don't worry about it, just nobody can hurt you.
Oh.
Myself.
Not on a magical level.
It's a good affirmation.
So Cuckoo says, thank you, I think I understand. Sundrop says, okay, Beth, thanks. Cuckoo says, I live in an area that once belonged to the Slavic tribe of Wizlani. Their cult was focused on water underground deities like Zamidji. And Beth says, kisses to Sundrop. Cuckoo adds, I wanted to check if this deity is still here. A medium I know senses that the old deity is here but dormant. I wanted to wake it up and ask for support, but I don't know how to establish a relationship with the forgotten ancestral deity.
Interesting.
Well, I think that, your interest in it and then putting out the request and asking for a sign or some information and so forth, that could work, that you could do that. And, well, we've had support from deities when we were under magical attack from another magical group. And, that was when I can't think of his name right now because all these names are in my head. Anyway, yeah, that's when we got some help. We volunteered, a deity volunteered to assist us. So, yeah, it can work. Asher says, oh, Glitter says, your own strength is enough, no need to call on deities. That doesn't mean you can't. Asher says, can people accidentally curse someone, like when people get angry and say mean stuff? And the energy behind angry words be a curse? It depends probably on the circumstances.
Yes, the short answer is yes, but if it's not intended as a curse, it's not going to have a huge effect. It's still, even little negative thoughts will affect another person in a negative fashion and make a little karma for you, but if they're not specifically targeted at that person with the intent of doing injury, then it'll only be a little bit, and that's just sort of natural in the course of things. But I agree myself. I try to keep from negative thoughts and things like that about other people or picturing other people in a negative light or anything, especially if I get mad at them, which I'm trying to learn not to get mad ever. But
yeah, Astra added, like, if I get angry and
Yeah.
say mean things, I don't want to accidentally curse
Yeah.
someone. I'm just blowing off steam. I've had some very intense conversations with imaginary parts of people in my head from time to time, but I don't think it
Yeah,
went to them in particular.
If you need to blow off the steam, you can do something different. Like for certain purposes, um, number one, uh, in some cases, I can picture a god or a deity instead of the person. In other cases, you could picture, you could have your own image. Every time you get mad at somebody, you could put it into, I don't know, something else. If you don't picture the person and picture, negative things happening to them and that, then you're not going to be making any karma either way for that. It's, yeah, I don't have all the answers about anger. It's something I'm working on myself.
Julia says, do you know how rare it is for 100 individuals to all 100% agree on all of an
Oh, yeah,
effort magically and to in concert
Oh,
send
yeah,
that energy out to a target in the same way?
We
Yeah.
couldn't even get.
We couldn't get 10 people.
Yeah, 7 to 10 people. We couldn't even get them to cooperate, and
They're all
yeah,
over the map. I mean,
Yeah.
really, seriously.
So,
Sundrop
yeah.
says, any advice on spirit communication? Do they understand I can't make offerings to them right now, or should I forget it for now until I'm able to give back?
Offerings are only for our convenience, something that we've come up with as a way to trade energy with the beings to facilitate a communication. So, by all means, feel free to converse with them and communicate with them. Offerings are not necessary. They're only they're useful. We find them useful and helpful.
Yeah, and the thing about offerings is, like, it can be as simple as a glass of water, a stone, a prayer, of thankfulness. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, something elaborate. It is just an energy acknowledgement. So I'd say don't worry about it. Asher says, I want to be able to vent and get the anger out without worrying it can energetically harmful.
Yeah,
So
that's the idea of targeting it towards something that's not a person or whatever.
okay, so I have a suggestion, because when I was dealing with a lot of anger, I would use this thing from Starhawk's book. She recommended using a black stone and putting it on your forehead and screaming and venting all of your rage and anger into the stone to get it out of yourself, and then you throw the stone in running water, and that allows that energy to leave you and to go back to the earth, and then the earth can use that energy for something positive. So you're not harming anything in the process, you're helping yourself, and you're helping the planet at the same time. So that's the idea that popped up for me. So let's see. Maganja says, the body archives what the mind believes. Hi, just passing through. Hi, welcome. Gaga says, so it's up to me if I let negative things such as negative in my circle because I'm in control with my mind. I get it, but can I use this to avoid karma energy? If you are alive, you cannot avoid karma energy. If you're breathing,
Look at it this way. You can put up a wall and delay it for a while, and it's going to keep building up behind that wall higher and higher until
yeah.
the wall collapses.
Then there's the dam.
And then you'll get all the karma all at once. So,
Yep.
no, just trying will just make things worse for you.
Just try to have a positive relationship with the universe. Seriously. Julia says, it's one of the reasons why most covens are limited to a certain number at most. Yeah, because of the lack of ability to work together and be on the same page. Beth says, now if you have 100 advanced, which is on you, you might want to put an offering out and request daily to help, or other people, you got the juice, you just got to tap into it. Maganja says, if you notice the root of the karmic patterns, you can escape them. Well, learning is the way to become one with the karma so that it's completed. So, yeah, understanding is definitely, it's not escaping them so much as that they're no longer necessary and kind of dissipates the energy. Gadga says, could one live evil and trick himself to believe he don't deserve the bad karma and stop the energy from coming to him in the first place? No. The universe knows you for who you are, exactly who you are, exactly what you intend, and exactly what
I'll
you've
tell you
done.
what. Look at it this way. You go stand in front of a Zamboni doing an ice rink, and you stop that thing, or go stand in front of a roller, one of the rollers that roll the cement, and you go stop that by hand. That's what you're trying to do.
The universe is bigger than us. Julia says, love me some Starhawk. And the other thing is, why the heck would you want to live evil? I don't understand the appeal. It's not more powerful than being good at all. In fact, it's less because you're always trying to avoid something or other from coming and getting you. Makanja says, the devil doesn't come for you when you are in sin, it's when you're trying to get out. Karma hits. Cuckoo says, our problems in the present life may result from the presence of karmic debtors to whom we once harmed and now they are collecting the debt. And we somehow repay our debt without struggle and suffer? Struggling and meeting challenges and overcoming them is how we learn about ourselves and the world around us. So trying to avoid all struggle, I don't think, is necessarily the goal. And suffering is something we choose to experience, and we don't. It's an attitude, a way of seeing what's happening to us, and deciding that it's like harmful suffering or whatever.
It's a state of mind. In a
Yeah,
lot of ways, it's a state of mind. Suffering, in a lot of ways, is a state of mind. It's physical suffering, but
right. Which is different, not the kind we're talking about at the moment. But living a good life is your best defense. Period. If you're trying to do good, if you have a good heart, if you're empathetic, if you help where you can, if you don't think you're more powerful than you could possibly be, if you don't let your ego go completely and totally out of control and lead you down in a wrong direction and think that like you're the one to tell everyone how to do everything, just being, accepting of the experience that you have, then and then working with what you have around you, you are building up positive karma and energy and becoming a better person in the process. And isn't that the goal of any of these paths, really, in the end, is to become the best version of yourself you can be? So to spend so much energy and time worrying about trying to get rid of, avoid, or stop the natural forces of the universe from interacting with you seems like a waste of energy and time to me. Just get down, to business, work on yourself. If you don't like what's happening to you, change your circumstances, change your state of mind, change your energy, do something about it. You are not stuck. There are always options.
Maybe somebody should put it this way. Whatever circumstances are without you. Now, this is a more of a little mystical point of view on things than just a straight magical one. Whatever circumstances are around you have been brought into existence mostly, not entirely, but mostly, once you're an adult and capable of making your own decisions, where you're not,
Right, powerless.
most of that is a reflection of your inner self. So the best way to change your external circumstances is to change your internal self. Your external circumstances will be a reflection of your internal self. So, yeah, that can be misconstrued easily, and people have, done all kinds of things with that idea,
Well,
and
yeah.
taken it in the wrong direction. But
Yeah, like it's all your fault.
generally, though, so much of it can be your own internal point of view, your own internal language, your own internal self-image and stuff, that it's well worthwhile working on that stuff. And a lot of times you'll find that the majority of the external things of that sort can fade away on their own if you can internal things that keeping them there.
Self-development,
Yeah.
self-awareness, taking personal responsibility for your own actions, becoming a defined individual, and not just a passive punching bag for the universe or whatever. Taking matters into your own hands, making mistakes, learning from them, and moving on. Learning how to forgive yourself when you're not perfect, because being perfect, I don't think, is particularly a good goal. At least not my understanding of perfection, at any rate. So Julius grins at Beth and chuckles, and Beth says, Julia, and grinning. Yaga says, dang, that's too bad. I was thinking about making a Jesus-like thought form that could take all the bad karma from me, but if the universe knows who you are, then that's a fail, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, you know what?
I think so.
I thought up all those ideas myself years and years ago when I first got started and dismissed
Yes,
them all myself.
yes.
I went
We
through all those
understand the
thought
urge.
processes. Yep,
We understand the urge to get rid of all that stuff, but yeah, it doesn't work.
yep.
So you might as well stop wasting time and just get on with it. That says just treat people the way you would like to be treated.
Did you get the one about our problems, cuckoo, our problems in the present life
Yes.
may result? Okay,
Yeah, we actually already
Okay.
talked about that.
all right, great.
And
Mentally away.
Julia says we are our own most brutal punishers, no matter what it may seem to others. That's true. Beth says, I'll be right back. Dave is ringing his bell. Yes, Dave needs you. See you when you get back. Maganja says a pure heart will get you far enough. Laugh out loud. Yeah, good intentions are definitely a better option.
Oh yeah.
Astor says sometimes we have to be mean to protect ourselves, so people have to have some teeth. That's not the same as purposefully harming innocent people. No, that's protecting yourself and being defined and having healthy boundaries. Boundaries are important. Other people may not like you to have boundaries because, they've got something they'd like you to do for them, and they're hoping that you're going to cooperate with whatever their wishes happen to be. But if you have healthy boundaries, they can just be disappointed and move on to someone else. That's the way that works. And that's a funny thing. When you start to develop healthy boundaries, you're going to find a lot of the people you thought were friends are suddenly not happy with you at all anymore. And they're going to complain bitterly. They really don't like it when they're used to getting all your time and energy, that you're always there for them whenever they need you and so forth, and you're suddenly starting to take care of yourself and you're just not there at their whim. Yeah, they get annoyed, and that's just their problem. Figuring out what's yours to deal with and what is theirs to have. That's been one of the ways that I've helped to take care of that stuff, like when I was in therapy in the incest survivors group, and I realized that a lot of what I had in me was stuff my father had put in me during all the abuse that I went through with him, and writing it out and putting it out there and then sending it out to him and giving it back to him because it wasn't mine to deal with. So figuring out what is yours to deal with is also part of it. If you take on someone else's stuff, you'll never work through it because they're the ones who have to deal with it, not you. It is tricky. There's no doubt about it. And we want to help people. Most of us are healers of one kind or another. And we want to make people better. And we want them to understand these things. And we want them to heal and so forth. But in the end, it's like there's certain things that they can only do for themselves. And then you have to take care of yourself in order to be alive long enough to do anything for anyone else. So I I sort of talk about this a fair amount. It's like um, in my on my journey, the universe will put things across my path as I'm going wherever I am. You know how what my day is or whatever. And a situation will arise or something, and I'll notice it, and then I'll look at it, and I'll decide, is this something I can help with, or is this something that I'm not capable of helping with, or something someone else needs to do, or what? And then I'll choose what I can do. And my granddaughter and I were talking about this the other day. I don't know how many people I've stopped on the road because they were about ready to lose a load, and I managed to pull them over and tell them what's going on so that they don't end up injuring other people on the road and stuff. Just simple things like that. Those are important too. So, yeah. Ina says it's not mean to have boundaries. Well, yeah, I don't think it's mean to have boundaries, but the people who don't want you to have them think it's mean because you're not doing what they want. Julia says, I help myself out at times by accepting as much humanly or witchly possible that the hurtful and unfair is as much a teacher as the rewards and fair play has. Just means you have to look harder. Yeah, Astor says, I need to do that, send that negative crap back to the abusive cretins. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's not yours to take care of, what's the point of you carrying it around? You know? It's like,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, I was telling them about writing a letter to my father and giving him back all the stuff he had to deal with because it wasn't mine. He's the one who had it and did it, not me. Astor says the introjected mean attitudes of my parents belong to them. Yeah, and if you don't like those attitudes and you don't want to become them, you need to like give them away back to the people that they belong to. It's hard with family. It can be very challenging with family. Ina says 100% Shifra, part of having boundaries is working out what is your stuff and your domain versus their stuff domain. It gets very confusing when you weren't taught healthy boundaries as a child. Don't I know it? I wasn't allowed to have any boundaries at all. It's been quite the challenge. I think I'm doing pretty good at this point. So I'm pretty happy with where I'm at in the moment, and that I'm pretty good at looking after myself and being clear as I can be. There's still some confusions, of course, because communication is like that, but Cuckoo says, for several days I've been visiting my springs in the middle of the forest early in the morning, almost at 3 a.m., and I feed the nature spirits with various incense. It helps me calm down. But I don't know if I'm irritating the spiritual beings around me. I'm still alive, so I guess not. Okay, so I think that your intent is probably something that they're going to experience more, and I doubt that an incense is going to irritate them. Um, and it sounds like you're being respectful. And if you're calming down when you go there, I would say that that's a positive response from the beings that are in the area, so I wouldn't worry. So Gaga says, can you seal your soul to an entity for something?
Well, you can
Are you talking about like making us like
you
a
can do it
pact with a demon kind of or spirit? Is that what you mean by sealing your soul? Or do you mean like
probably.
protecting yourself from so that nothing can get in?
You can. There are pacts that can be made with certain beings where they will do certain things for you. In return, after you die, you have to pay back all the energy that they expended helping you out by working for them. So basically, if you do something like that, it's more or less transactional where they're basically get a profit off doing something for you. You're working for them after your death, which means that your progress is stopped completely until you pay back everything you owe them. And that's one of the good reasons not to make pacts and things with beings, and since it may take even like hundreds of years to pay back something if you manage. First off, those kind of pacts aren't that easy to make, and the beings uh, usually
Are picky.
will only make them with people who have some magical powers and abilities that can serve them well after death.
Yeah, they're picky. They don't just take
Yeah,
anybody.
they're picky, and um, Barton calls that one of the most unfortunate situations you get yourself in, because if you go the wrong direction, and if you worked for them for too much time, and after your time is up, if you don't, apparently it almost always happens that the person never lapses again, that they get reborn after their time working for the being is up, and they never relapse again because they've learned. But a few unlucky individuals can end up losing their individuality entirely, just become a being of that sphere. And Barton considers that one of the worst things, one of the most unfortunate things that can ever happen to a human being, to be stuck and become a being of a different sphere and be stuck there forever and pretty much lose their human.
Yep,
So
100% agree.
not a recommended practice at all.
And he did sell. He said sell. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. So Astor says, is it true that ethical people have more spiritual authority? Yes.
Yeah. The one of the things that happens is, especially depending, now if you're talking forest spirits, nature spirits, things like that. It's not such a deal, because a lot of those are more like dealing with pets and animals and things, where they respond on that kind of an instinctive level and such. Um, Astra, I got your message held because I'm going to go ahead and say show it, but watch and not put the profanity in there in the future. Um, what was I like? Oh, ethical people and more
Ethical people
spiritual
have more
authority.
spiritual
Yes.
authority.
So where spiritual authority comes from is, a lot of these beings, the more advanced ones, beings of the zone girdling the earth and such, can tell right off the bat if you're serious, if you know what you're doing, if you know what a pentagram is, how to use it, that kind of things. In other words, they know your thoughts. They know if you have broken oaths, promises to spirits, things like that. So they can determine basic character, and if you're not of they will judge you on that, and they will react to you according to your character, and a lot of them can thoughts and things. So yes, they will respect you a lot more, and they will react a lot more kindly if they have respect for you, and that respect comes in the same way you'd earn that from other people like humans.
Well, right. I mean, think of it just in basic terms. Say you have something that you do, that you make, that you sell, or whatever the activity happens to be, and you promise one thing but give another. Eventually, people find out that they can't trust you, and they don't want to have anything to do with you anymore, because they know that nothing you say matters. That, in fact, every word that comes out of your mouth is likely to be a lie. And the opposite is true. If you always follow through to the best of your ability, and, with your commitments and so forth, then people will trust you. So just like on a basic level, we can see that in action, and eventually people find out.
Yeah,
So
it works the same way with the spirits. Only a lot of them can see, a lot of them can see your aura. They can read your character from the colors of your aura, your mental aura, your astral aura, and things like that. And so,
they can see
yeah,
your entire history and know whether you actually are just. So I didn't see anything come through. I don't know why. That you said you approved something that was.
like the angels will drive by your house with windows rolled up if you're
I didn't get that.
and not help you. Oh, it doesn't. Huh?
Yeah, I
So it
just
didn't
got
show
the
up.
and
Okay.
not help you. Okay.
Well, I approved it, but it didn't show up in yours. So yeah. So well.
All right.
All right.
I just was wondering because I was waiting to see what it said.
That's just a little funny. But
All right.
it's just
Sundrop says, is it best to meditate before doing a tarot reading? Well, yeah, to get yourself in the right space, frame of mind, focused,
depending on
concentrating, relaxed.
yeah, the Golden Dawn method went to a whole for like the Golden Dawn. They recommend doing a whole. At least they used to. I should say I'm not familiar with recent Golden Dawn stuff. This is all from the old writings, but they do like a pentagram and hexagram rituals of banishing before using it. So they'd spend, a good hour or so banishing and cleansing the temple and stuff and preparing for a tarot reading before they do it. And it might take an hour or 2 hours to finish.
So it's good to be focused and relaxed.
Yes, it's to me that's effective but overboard for a tarot reading. But
So Cuckoo says, what is the best etymology of the word elf? Apparently it from alphabet, or i.e. a shining being, but I don't know, is it true? From alpha to elf to angel? I have no idea. And the language is like that. It's like it transforms and morphs, and what one thing means now in the past might have meant something completely different. And I'm not an entomologist, so I don't always get that much out of the etymology of a word, but it's interesting sometimes to know the history of the language and how it was applied. And it can give you hints as to the prejudices and belief systems that were in play at the time the word was created, and then how those changed over time and how that changed the meaning of the word. So, Yaka says, what is the purpose of animal spirits? To help you. To give you wisdom, to help you learn a different perspective, to create empathy, to understand things from
yeah, in a way, it's kind of like what's the purpose of animals? I mean, they're there,
yeah.
Kinda.
And if you know what your like totem animal is, it can give you some insights into your basic nature at your core. Ina says Old English elf of Germanic origin related to German Alp nightmare. Interesting. Antonio says, I am a bucket of sunshine.
Well, this one says the word elf is found throughout the Germanic languages and seems originally to have meant white being. However, reconstructing the early concept of an elf depends largely on texts written by Christians in Old and Middle English, Medieval German, and Old Norse.
Yeah.
What that's worth.
Yeah. So basically, the cultural implications and so forth and influences that are around there, cultural, religious, spiritual, and prejudices and all that kind of stuff are a part of language. Magana says animals teach us patience and so much more. Okay, so like how the bear helped me, for example, because I work best in going by my own personal experience. When I lived up in the Kispiox Valley and my children were young and I was starting to learn about boundaries, I was in therapy and I was trying to figure out how to be a better mother. And I was thinking, what attributes did I need? And I looked at the bear, the mother bear, and I thought the mother bear doesn't put up with stupidity and guff. If her cubs get out of hand, she makes sure they know that that's not okay because it could mean their death. But she's also very she defends her children from all comers. She is able to defend them and so forth. And she's very fierce in her love and defense of her children. And that was what I wanted to learn. And so I connected with the bear spirit more directly when I lived up there. And of course, I lived in a place that had more bears than people, so that helped. Um, and that was what the bear taught me. And it is still one of my power animals and spirit animals. I mean, I have the bear on several different levels, and my daughter, her spirit animal is the bear. She was born with bear, and being fiercely defending of those that she cares about is one of her primary characteristics. So those are some of the things that I learned from an animal. Julia says, my cat is currently teaching me to be pushy and tenacious, even when told no. Wince at him when Ganja says, cats will be cats. Yes, that's true. They are pretty determined sometimes. Bugsy was very determined this morning to get my full and undivided attention, so he really worked at it. Kept knocking the mouse out of my hand. Not that he knew it was a mouse. No computer! Pet me. Me and me alone. So yeah. Cuckoo says, Gecko, and what is the purpose of life? We don't have souls, we are souls, and we have bodies sometimes. Okay, it depends on your definition of purpose, I guess. For me, the purpose of life is experiencing it and learning from it and being a part of it. So, and I do believe I have a soul, and I think pretty much everyone else does too. Beth says, I am listening. It's going to be a while, so I will bid all of you farewell. Be loved, be happy. Bye, Beth.
Bye.
Julia says, hugs at Beth. Sundrop says, can you please explain grounding and how to? Okay, I've done a whole bunch of videos on grounding, Sundrop, where I try to explain grounding. Grounding is connecting to the earth energy and being here in your physical body and your mental body, here, your astral body, in this earth zone.
Currently.
Yeah, being present in the moment, in the now, is part of it. But being able to connect to the planetary energies that are just there, because that's our source of energy and power and magic, is the earth itself, everything in it, all the life forms, all the elements and so forth. That's all a part of it. And so, like the tree exercise, the tree meditation is a grounding and shielding and cleansing, purification meditation. And the grounding part of that is at the beginning and at the end. First, it's like the connection to the earth itself, to the energy of the earth, and imagining going down to the center of the planet through all of the life and stuff like that, and pulling that up into you and acknowledging it. And at the end, when you're done with all the other stuff that you're doing, do I have plants in my hair from gardening? I do. And then it's like taking that extra energy that you have and putting it back in the earth. Apparently, I'm covered with plant life. That was because I was under the tree there. And so, grounding is being in your body and being present in the now.
An easy thing to help real fast, for like a fast I need to ground right now, is to eat something a lot of times.
Yes. Astra says, do fairies and angels protect people automatically if you have an entourage of beings? Can they be your spiritual bouncers?
Again.
They can. Sometimes they can. But there's a lot of things they can't do. They can't interfere with your free will. And if you consciously put yourself in danger, there's not much they can do about it. So if you're like driving a car going 100 miles an hour in the middle of a thunderstorm, there's a good chance that you're going to die. And they're not going to be able to stop it. But Sundrop says, oh, okay. Cuckoo says, Sundrop, the amount of evil on earth indicates that angels are unable to protect us from evil. Well, that's because most of the evil comes from the people that we live with and not the spirit beings that are around. Astra says, fairy bouncers. Beth says, Julia, love. And how's the bunny? Well, the bunny is growing back his mane, and he is absolutely adorable. He's getting these tufts growing out on his cheeks and up on his ears because he's part lion mane as his breed, half of him, I guess. His mother's like a gigantic rabbit. I think a Flemish or something. I always forget. But he is pretty adorable, and he's getting into trouble all the time. He ate a copy of The Last Unicorn. At least he has good taste in literature. Apparently, he likes fairies and elves and unicorns and mystical beasts and creatures and whatnot because
And he books about
he's eating the whole book. Gaga says, could an entity help me live 500 years so I can learn more in this life? Probably not.
Well,
Unless you're an alchemist and you learn the secrets of alchemy and you manage to make the stone,
yeah, that's a whole nother subject.
which Ian worked really hard at. So,
well, I stopped when I started our kitchen on fire. But I was getting somewhere. I was getting somewhere with the alchemy, but I gave that up as being too too dangerous.
It was getting physically.
Especially if you don't have the money to pay for stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
No, there are things you can do, but if you want to live a long time, I recommend the methods of like the Indian such. And
So the less you eat, the longer you live. Apparently,
that's true.
It's actually one of the things they've discovered.
Asceticism and such.
I guess your telomeres don't dissolve as quickly. I mean, the telomeres in your cells basically tell your body how old you are. And they're actually, in medical research, they're working on ways to lengthen your telomeres, which would virtually give you a longer life because then your cells would act as if they were younger.
But I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, Gaga. I'll answer your question kind of honestly. There are things you can do to extend your life. I don't know about the 500 years, but you can do things to extend your life. That's valid. But you know what the best solution to immortality is? Advance to the point where you remember your past lives and everything becomes as one long lifetime to you.
And then you are forever.
Yeah, and you can achieve that with work and remember, you know, Barton literally remembered hundreds of past lives to the point where he could do things like speak languages he spoke in past lives, things like that. Imagine being able to speak Italian because you'd learned it 500 years ago or something like that.
Could be interesting.
And to bring those abilities through. And while it's rare that people make it that far to do it,
Seems like a worthy
that's
goal.
really the best. If you ask me, if you want an approach towards immortality, that's the best one I can come up with because you remember having lived it, been there, and you no longer, well, anyway, for what that's worth, I don't want to beat a dead horse. But
Yeah. Astra says, laugh out loud, fairies like I cannot stop dumb behavior, human. Yeah, I. Cuckoo says, when I said that we don't have a soul, I meant that I don't identify with the body. We are souls in material points of consciousness trapped in bodies. Well, I don't believe that I'm trapped in my body so much as that this is the house that I'm using, the vessel that I have to interact with the physical universe.
Which I'd agree with, that it's one of our bodies and you can transcend it.
And we have I have my physical body, I have my astral body, I have my mental body, and I have my spirit body. And it's one of the interesting things about being in a physical body. I can translate up into the other bodies and experience them while still being in a physical one. So it's kind of interesting. I rather find that fun. Astra says, I loved The Last Unicorn. Me too, says Kara. Me too, says I. Gaga says, that's what I want to hear. Is there anything I can do to live forever? Cuckoo says, yes, achieve enlightenment. And you answered that question already with remembering all your lives and so forth. Sundrop says, we all got to go sometime. Just do the best you can now. Absolutely. Violet says, I missed you guys. This was super, super delightful. I'm with you to 3:30. Thank you for your time, both of you. This was so good. Excellent. I learned so much. I'll be back more often. Wonderful.
Nice to hear. That's great.
So Blessed says, powering magical jewelry.
Yeah, decide what kind of energy you want to put into it, whether you want to be powered solar, or you want to use Mars energy or Earth energy.
Oh, yeah.
There's all kinds of ways to
do appropriate for the stone or the material or whatever that the jewelry is made out of, the metal, etc. You can put any energy in any object, but it's easier to put a specific energy in an object that is already naturally attuned to and has an affinity for the kind of energy you're trying to put in it. Gaga says, "Is there any way I can learn how to remember every time I die? It's the only thing I really won't." I had that happen to me, and you can watch the experience or listen to what that was like for me in shamanic dismemberment, the video. And I'm not going to go into all that right here because it's like only 10 minutes left.
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty big subject. There are mean techniques to do those kind of things, and even people, there's techniques where you can learn to think backwards till the moment of your death, and then try to think backwards beyond that. That's one technique for bring his past lives. I'm not sure how well that technique works because I follow Bard and stuff, but
I've remembered
yeah,
a number of my deaths, and
yeah,
it's kind of interesting, especially remembering the time in between the death and the uh, after the death and
yeah.
what happened. So yeah,
It's not something I pursued. I am personally not advanced to the point where I feel like I can pursue that and risk taking on karma of past lives, because if you do that, that is a method you can accidentally bring back the karma of your past lives. Some of the karma that gets dumped with a past life, like what your neighbor did to you or something like that, some past life specific stuff, if you bring that stuff back with you, you could deactivate bad karma you don't want. So it requires
also, as
caution.
far as psychologically speaking goes, remembering some of that stuff is a huge destruction of your ego when it happens, because how you think about yourself will be forever changed. You find out that you are not maybe the wonderful person in the past you thought you should have been, and you are actually a
Well,
scumbag and an
and
asshole.
that's another thought. If we're doing this right, we're doing this right, each life we live is going to be a little bit better than the last one. So do you really, I mean, you're not going to go back and remember being a famous person usually. It's going to be each farther back you go, each life was worse and worse and worse because you progressed up to this point in this life. So that requires caution too.
Exactly. Ego.
Yep.
If you don't come out with humility after that, you're doing something wrong. And humility is the only appropriate response to that, because I mean it gives you a different perspective. You know that you weren't always bright, brilliant, and on top of things, which means that you're not better than anybody else, and that everyone else is going through
Yeah.
something similar. So Cuckoo says enlightenment. So Blessed says making powerful magical jewelry. Well, yeah, depending on your oomph.
So Cuckoo does some Tibetan practices.
Okay, because I don't know how to say any of that.
Well, I don't know how to pronounce them exactly. I do recognize those as Tibetan
Dzogchen
practices. Yes.
practices.
Yeah.
Boa, Trek. Oh,
That's where I should probably learn more about Swami Chitanananda's practice, because he has
yeah, he has both
Tibetan
the
he has a
Tibetan
Tibetan lineage, Tibetan
and
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 yeah, the Kashmir
and the Kashmir
Shaivism, and
Shaivism.
yeah, that's Trika yoga.
Asher says, I have a fragmented consciousness already, so my ego was thrown in a blender. Yeah, you probably don't want to do that anymore. You want to put yourself together, not take yourself back apart. Yeah. Knowing yourself and where you're at, always important to making these kinds of decisions. And please do not try this at home, as it were.
Yeah, so those Tibetan practices, what I've seen, most of them are pretty serious. They're not light and fluffy New Age stuff.
A lot of New Age stuff is not really light and fluffy anymore
Well, yeah.
either. It's become quite dark in a lot of ways. That's why
Tibetan
there's so
is
many new cult leaders
Tibetan is
arising.
pretty unique though. For those who don't know, they use some interesting tools like thigh bone trumpets and skull cap cups.
They couldn't bury their dead, so they had to use all their parts.
Well, yeah. But plus which, if they make something out of the thigh bone, they consider thigh bone of the master or guru or something to have some of that energy and such.
Yaga says, is alchemy hard? It's kind of hard to understand for me, but I still want to learn it.
Well,
It's very hard.
it's extremely hard to understand. Understanding what the heck they're trying to say is the hardest part. But I found that if you just keep after it in today's society, where we have access to any of the literature that's available, um, you can learn it. You can study it. You can learn it. It's freaking tough to get a handle on. It's really tough to get a handle on the vocabulary, what they're talking about. And at the time I was studying it, which was 20-ish years ago or something, there were no there was nothing written that I could really read to just interpret them properly. I had to just go through all the old text and start trying to dig things out little by little and start trying the experiments, start trying to do it practically and see what failed and things like that. So, yeah, it's hard nowadays, except I would recommend doing it as a matter of interest. I wouldn't recommend it, though it has potential value as a serious spiritual pursuit. I'd recommend some other methods myself and follow other methods for spiritual pursuit at this point, though I've delved far enough into the alchemy to find out it's valid and you can figure it out, but it's really tough to figure out.
Julia says, I would not be surprised if a past life I was probably full of traits and tendencies I would deplore now. And yeah, that can be real painful. Yeah, pretty much. Astra says, in the astral, I'm a bit of a brat. A younger part of me goes to other dimensions and plays ding dong ditch. Cuckoo says, Gaga, if you enjoy alchemy, try the Emerald Tablet Alchemy of Personal Transformation, Dennis William Hawk.
And no, there's no math in alchemy, so Kara asks.
Kara asks, is there math involved in alchemy? Can't do hard math. Well, neither can he, so...
And don't worry about that. I will say on the alchemy subject while we're talking about, there are two aspects of alchemy. There is what they call the spiritual alchemy, which is spiritual advancement, which is put in terms of alchemical symbolism. But there is also physical alchemy, physical attempts to make the actual philosopher's stone. And from stuff I've read and from Barden, which I'm pretty much convinced actually exists and you can reach. So, a lot of the spiritual alchemists who interpret it all spiritually will try to convince you that that that's all alchemy is. It's all spiritual and there's no physical aspect. But there really was a physical aspect, a physical philosopher's stone that could be made, physically turning, physically making gold, physical transformations, those things. So there are two aspects to the alchemy, and both are valid. I'll add that because when I was studying it, there was a lot of confusion, and a lot of people thought that all alchemy was actually symbolic and not physical. But I've become convinced there is a physical alchemy, and the physical stuff is there.
So Astra says, trash talks, then runs back to my body. I don't know why I do it. That's probably part of the reason I have all these beings around me. I've probably insulted some alien's mother. Well, I don't know. It's a possibility. Kara says, wow. Yeah, alchemy is interesting. And you need to have a lot of equipment. You need to have a lab. You need to be able to have the beakers and the distillers and the, the fire and the cast iron stuff and yeah, we had like tubes, glass tubes and all sorts of stuff and yeah. It's definitely science. And it's actually, alchemy is the basis of a lot of science. A lot of the sciences was born from the alchemists to start with. And I remember when I was in school, they basically mostly made fun of it. And I thought, what?
But basically nowadays, it's just that we've got so many different ways and we've got access to so much information. There's all these ways to make the spiritual progress that don't require stuff.
Right.
But then I'm kind of
he likes stuff.
I'm a techno and a science nerd to a certain extent. Yep. So I like that stuff. But you can also start with plant alchemy rather than start with the mineral alchemy. And plant alchemy is a lot easier to start getting results from and get some interesting things.
If you're going to do plant alchemy, you need to grow some lemon balm.
Well, there's something called the primum ens of Melissa, which is a lemon balm preparation. Rejuvenates your health and things like that. There's some health elixirs, things like that. I was delving in.
Yep.
It's fun. It was fun. I don't recommend it for practical results though, since there's so many easy ways of things nowadays.
Yeah, Kara says, wow. Cuckoo says, alien mother, Sigourney Weaver. Kara says, cool. Okay, so it's now 15 seconds
It's now
before
that
an
time.
hour
Okay.
and 30. So we're going to say goodbye, guys. Cat says, hi, everyone. I never get here
Hi.
on time. I'm in New Zealand and homeschooling my
Sorry.
son. Glad to be here for a short time, though. I'm so sorry you joined right at
Hi,
the end.
Sandcat. Bye,
Hi.
Sandcat.
Try an hour earlier if you can. Julia says, sending those who want them loving energies and internet hugs. Loved being here today. So very boosting to the spirit and everything else. Thanks to everyone. Okay, guys. It's been lovely as usual once we got rolling. Always fun. Eve goes clap. Kara says, have a great night.
Good night.
Ian says, bless you all. Gaga says, really good talk. Thanks. You're welcome. Everybody, blessed be and have yourselves a wonderful week. And I got one new video out, so hopefully I'll get some more out. And I was very happy with the response to Becoming Human. So that was kind of a nice surprise. Dan Cat says, just nice to hear your voices. All right. Okay, so signing off. Blessed be everybody. See you next week. Bye.